Okay, so we'll go through Linux. We'll see what exactly is Linux. We'll see what are the importance of Linux. Okay, and there are various other things what we will see today. So why exactly are we learning Linux? So being a DevOps engineer, operating in operating system Linux is very important. Now why exactly Linux? The reason Linux is important, this is because of all the DevOps tools are Linux native. All the DevOps tools which you will come across in your working career will be Linux native tools. Okay, not just for DevOps guys. Overall, if you are there in IT industry, okay, overall if you're there in IT industry, then you will come across Linux in any way. Whether you are in support, whether you are a developer, whether you are working in the DevOps, QA, or whatever role you're working, you will definitely come across Linux operating system. Okay. So most of your high-end servers are all installed on Linux. There are various reasons it is highly optimized. If you would have noticed in doing a testing, we were launching Ubuntu machine of one vCPU and one RAM, 1 gig of RAM, and we have installed Apache also on top of it. Do you think in such a low configuration, if you have Windows, can you do it? No. So even for Windows, if you want to run Apache, minimum you will need 2 vCPU and 4 gig of memory, and then only you can have your things installed and that will work flawlessly. That kind of configuration is needed. So this is one of the way how Linux is highly optimized. Linux does the memory management, memory optimization, storage optimization, and all this very CPU optimization, very good as compared to others. Okay. Plus, as we all know that it is very difficult to hack Linux and it is very difficult to create viruses for Linux. It's not that you cannot have virus on Linux, guys. If someone said there's no virus on Linux, that's wrong, absolutely wrong. Yeah, but it is very, as compared to Windows machine, it's very, no hacker will hack your Linux. It will spend time sending viruses on Linux. And it's because it's very easy on Windows. They can easily send a exe file and you just execute that exe file and you're done. So as compared to Windows, Linux is quite safe and secure. Yeah, why we are learning? We are learning from the DevOps perspective. If you guys have seen, we are using the Bash shell. We are running. So all these are shell Linux native shells. So all your commands, the basic command, ls, pwd, you should know what exactly these are. Okay, you may not work directly on Linux, but you may end up working on Git, which will eventually using Linux shell, Linux commands. You will eventually end up running Linux commands via editor. And plus, if you are into DevOps, you will definitely come across Linux because all the DevOps tools are Linux native. To name few, Kubernetes, Docker, Ansible. Now, many of you say the Docker also works on Windows. Yeah. So initially, when Docker came, it was only Linux native. After 5 years down the line, then it became Windows native also. But if you look closely, guys, Docker is still not working on Linux. Sorry, Docker is still not on Windows. What's happening? When you want to set up Docker on Windows machine, you need to set up Ubuntu. So if you see, I have Docker in my system in this laptop. So how did I set up? I have Ubuntu. On top of it, I'm setting up Docker. So directly, it is not working on Windows. Ansible, Ansible will not work on Windows. If you want to set up Ansible Tower, Ansible Server, all this will work on Linux machine only. Yeah, you can maintain and manage Windows servers using Ansible, but the installation and everything will be done on Linux instead. Same goes with Kubernetes. So this is the story of all the DevOps tools, whatever you have come across. Initially, it was only Linux native. After down the line, after 4 5 years, it becomes Windows native. So the whole point is, so whatever tool comes in the market, that will be mostly prone to Linux machine, not Windows, guys. So keep this in mind. So hence we need to know what exactly Linux is. How do we work with Linux? What are the basic commands of Linux? So you don't need to be an administrator, guys. So draw a line where to stop. Okay. So you're not looking for a job as a Linux administrator. When you go as a Linux administrator, there is many things which you should know. From DevOps perspective, these are the important things. You should know the basic commands. You need to know how do we manage user and group. You need to know what is file system and permissions. Linux editor. So basically you should know how do we edit files in Linux. Okay. And package management. These are the important topics which you should know when you're working with Linux. Okay. Package management is very important because you'll be managing, installing multiple packages, managing it, deleting it, and those things. So you need to know how do we do package management in Linux. Okay, before I jump on into a essential command slide, we need to know what exactly is Linux. From where did we get this term Linux? So we all know Linux is an operating system. We might have heard Unix as well, correct? Linux is nothing but it's a clone of Unix. So it was actually created by Linus Torvald from scratch. So there was a operating system. Previously, we had an operating system called Unix. Okay, and Linux. This person, what he did, he took the Unix clone and created Linux from scratch. Now, and he made Linux free. So when I say free, it's an open source operating system. So what does open source means, guys? That means that you can simplify, change anything in Linux, and you can redistribute and create your own flavor. So you can create your own name. So this is what people have done. You can see so many Linux flavor right now. You say Ubuntu, you say Red Hat, you say Linux Mint, Debian, Fedora, SUSE, CentOS. So what are these? What are these? Are these different operating systems? No, they are all Linux, guys, and these are different flavor of Linux. Basically, what are these flavors? Are they different? Like what exactly is different? Only the way of working, the command, the GUI is different. Underlying kernel, everything is same. They're using the same Linux kernel. Okay, because this is open source, people will, like big companies, they want someone to give them some sort of support if they're using this open source operating system. So hence what this Red Hat did, they took CentOS and created an enterprise version, and they simply named it as Red Hat. Now they're selling that open source enterprise version, and they are giving sort of support if you're using RHEL. So RHEL is not free, it is paid. Okay, and it is an enterprise version of OS which we're talking about. So yeah, if you go for RHEL, you get support from Red Hat. Okay, so did Red Hat created that from scratch? No. Even Red Hat is using the same clone, and they have created their own flavor, enterprise flavor, basically mostly an enterprise flavor, and they're selling it to the people. That's business, correct? Okay. Same goes with Ubuntu. Nowadays, even with Ubuntu, you got a third-party vendors who are giving enterprise version of Ubuntu. So Linux is still open source. Like if you want to have a replica copy of Red Hat to be used, then you can go and use CentOS. It is exactly the same of Red Hat. Okay, so Linux, these are all flavors, guys. Underlying kernel, what they're using is the same. They're using the same kernel, nothing different. Now, so this takes us to the point, what is kernel? Sure. Okay, what exactly is kernel? If you are if I want to ask any of you that can you define kernel for me? So anyone? What is kernel, guys? No one? Yeah.
Like the way the hardware speaks to the software, or the other way around. Like,
Okay, perfect. Good try. Anyone else?
As a
Okay.
control
Before I yep, tell me.
means as a control of means over the department means like kernel is also means have a control over the OS system.
Okay, controller. Nice word. Good. Okay, let me give you an example. Think of a library. Okay, think of a library and just imagine there is no librarian. There is no librarian in the library. Now you want to gain access to a book and you don't know where the book is. So you go around the library, you found the book somehow. After spending a good amount of time, you found the book. You took the book, there's nothing, no update is happening. You went ahead with the book. No, there's no record. What did you pick? When will you getting the book back? And all this, there's no record at all. You just took the book and you started using the book. And then same way the other person comes in and same way. Now this way, the complete book is gone. Some people are coming and keeping the book and they are not keeping in the right way. Like the history book is kept in geography area, the geography book is kept in politics area, and all this mix up is happening. Now just put a librarian in between. You have a librarian. Now see the difference. Now if you want to gain access to a book, what will happen? You will directly go to the librarian. You will ask that I need this XYZ book. Where do I find this book? So the librarian will take up your records. Like if you have a membership with the library, he or she will check your membership. He will put the notes in the book that this person has took this book at this date and the expected return is on this date. Now the librarian will guide you. Go to way 4, row number 1. You will find the book. The librarian has all the records. Now you just directly go to the way 4 and row 1. You access the book without spending much time. Directly you are able to access what is required and you go back. Same goes, the same process is followed by everyone. Now this librarian is what exactly it's doing. This librarian is managing the resources. Whatever resources she is managing it wisely. What are the resources she has? She has the book, maps, XYZ, whatever we have it in library. This is what she's managing. Plus she's managing the flow. Now replace this librarian with kernel in your operating system and replace the books with your compute and memory. Replace the person who is trying to access the book with processes. Now imagine the same thing. Now the processes wants to access compute and memory. They will go to kernel. Kernel will give them the okay, go and access this memory, and kernel will keep a track till when they are accessing the memory. Once the process stops, they will free them. Kernel will automatically go and free the memory for you. So what are the main job kernel does? Memory management, process management, managing the drivers if any additional drivers gets attached. It is managing the system call and security. Now if I give you a typical example of kernel, a definition wise, so a Linux kernel is the main component of Linux operating system, and at its core it interfaces between a computer hardware and its processes. A mediator between a computer hardware and its processes. It's communicate between the two, managing resources as efficiently as possible. So always, what is the role of a kernel? It's a mediator between your computer hardware and the processes. The complete hardware is managed by kernel. Kernel is the person who is responsible for allocating memory, allocating processes, allocating system processes to your uh, resources to your processes. What are processes, guys? The services which is running on your system. What are the services? Your Apache service, your database service, your the shell, even that is a process which runs your network service. So these are all processes. So in order to make these processes to run and execute, you will need some sort of CPU or memory. So this is provided by kernel. Kernel is managing that for you. Okay. So why do we call this as kernel? Because seed inside your hard shell. It exists within the OS and controls all the major functions of the hardware, whether it's a laptop, server, or any kind of computer. Even in phone nowadays, no, not nowadays, it's there since very long. Even in phone, you got kernel, okay, which is managing things for you, which is managing resources very efficiently. Okay, this is a kernel for you guys. Okay, I think there was something in the group chat. Hey Jay, no, it's not theory. It's just a basic. We're just starting Linux for the very first time. So we need a bit of theory before we jump on and start the actual demo. Okay, so that is about kernel, guys. Now, when you go back and when you log into a Linux machine for the very first time, the things which you see is nothing but it's a shell. Okay. Now you might have seen the black window with a cursor blinking on top of it. Now, what exactly is that? What is that black window? That black window is nothing but is a shell. A shell is nothing but it's a program which provides interface between the user and the operating system. So the black window, what you see, guys, that is where you put in your command. That's your interface which will help you connect with your operating system. Okay. So kernel will basically control all your essential commands, operation commands. Okay. It will not let you access any restricted hardware access. It will not give you. You might need a high super user privilege for doing that. Okay. So shell, when I say shell, it's a program. Wait a minute. It's a program that takes the commands from the keyboard and gives them to the operating system to perform. So it's a mediator in between which will help you execute what you want. Nowadays, okay, previously we used to have only command line, guys, wherein you were using shell, but nowadays not just command line, we got in even in Linux we got GUI. When I say GUI, I'm talking about graphical user interface. So unlike like Windows, even if you want to use anything like Windows on Linux machine, even that is possible. You can have GUI based OS installed, and you can do. It is very similar to Windows, wherein you will get an icon, you can click on it, you can open the browser and things like that. So any non-Linux person can also use Linux. But will you get the GUI kind of thing in reality when you're working on servers? So the answer is no. When you log into server, you will just simply you will see a black window with a cursor moving. Now the black window, what you see, that is nothing but it's a shell. Now there are multiple shell which you will come across: Bourne shell, corn shell, Z shell, born again shell. This is the one which we are using nowadays. What exactly is the difference between other cells? We'll see it in a minute. But before that, let's go and create a, so how do we practice this, guys? So what I'll do, I'll create a Ubuntu machine on Azure cloud itself. So we have seen how do we create a VM already. So what I'll do, for our practice, what I'll do, I'll go and create a virtual machine with Ubuntu on it. There are other ways also, guys. You can have the Ubuntu install on your local system also. So, but because it will have restriction, but it will not give you the complete privilege of doing what you can actually do on a real Ubuntu machine. So hence I'll be just using a Linux VM, which is free, which comes in free tier. So as I said, Linux is highly optimized, guys. So one vCPU and 1 gig of memory is more than enough for me to practice. So I'll just stick with that. So let me create a VM quickly. In the meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, please do let me know. VM Linux, something like this. Let's stick with East US. Okay, image. This is I'm using Ubuntu Server 2004 LTS. LTS stands for long-term support. If you want to change the image, you can go and see all the images. If you want any other flavor of Linux, then you can use. We got Ubuntu. If you want Red Hat, even that is possible. But as I said, Red Hat is not free, guys. You have to go and purchase the license also. So unnecessary, I don't want to pay for licensing and all. If you want to have a Red Hat like thing, you can even use CentOS. We'll stick with Ubuntu. That is you don't have to pay anything for this. Okay. So any other flavor, you can go and use the flavor from here.
When we install Oracle VirtualBox and inside that we can install the means that image Ubuntu or the CentOS, is it fine?
Perfectly fine. If you see my system, I got Oracle VirtualBox also, and if you open this, I got Ubuntu running in it. The thing which this is time consuming, guys. Okay. And plus, if you don't have high config on your system, this Oracle will not work as expected. It will lag, and there are multiple other issues which you will face. So this is a couple of sessions which we have. Now this is how it looks like, guys. If you see, I got Ubuntu 1804 running in it. Okay. If you want, you can set up Oracle VirtualBox. You can get this Ubuntu, and you can have the Ubuntu machine running on your local also. Okay. Now this will have issues. Eh, Firstly, if you have 8 gig of memory, then definitely you should not do it, because half of your memory is taken by Windows OS and half will be taken by this Ubuntu. If you have 16 gig of memory at least, then you can go and install this and you can do this setup. It is much easier than this Oracle VirtualBox. This is again, the option is there. It's all free. You can go and set this up, but this option is much easier. The size which we are using is 1 vCPU and 1 gig of memory. If you are in free tier, then this comes in free tier. There's no cost involved. If you're not in free tier, so see, the cost is 596 per month if you're keeping this VM on for 30 days. That is the cost. But I'll be hardly using for 1 hour, 2 hour, and then I'll be deleting it. And whenever I come back, I'll be respawning it within a minute. Okay, this will give you a complete look and feel of your Ubuntu. The other option, as mentioned, Oracle VirtualBox is also an option. The other option is also there if you want to have Ubuntu. If you see, I got Ubuntu's on Windows. So this is just a replica of Ubuntu, guys. This will work on your Windows machine. It will give you a look and feel of Ubuntu, but no, not the exact Ubuntu. Okay, even this is an option. So this is I've installed when I was setting Docker on my system. Okay, so there are multiple ways for using Linux on your Windows machine. Plus, if you have if you guys have noticed, we have bash shell, correct? Even this is a shell. This is kind of give you the whatever commands you run in Linux, the ls, pwd, all those commands also works over here. Okay, so this shell we are using a lot. So for connecting, this is a shell which we were using. So there are multiple ways if you want to have a look and feel how the command looks like, so you can do it. Okay, so whichever way you like, guys, try it. In my, I'll be using this VM because this is, we already have portal, we have already created multiple VMs. Now this will be much easier for you guys to go and start a Ubuntu machine and start practicing Ubuntu commands, not Ubuntu, Linux commands. Okay, up to you guys, whatever way you like, whichever way you like. Make, if you're able to get your OS installed and start working on it, you can do it. Okay, if you have high configuration, this Oracle option is very good option, guys. You can even have GUI based OS install and have a look and feel how exactly it looks like. This is the one which I have right now. This is GUI, not just command line. So it's a complete operating system which I have in my system, Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, so let's go and create this. I'll enable only port 22 is more than enough, and just review and create. That's it. Okay, see the costing, guys, 0.8168 INR per hour, less than 1 cent per hour. Okay, but yeah, if you have a good configuration system, please go with Oracle VirtualBox, and you can assign one vCPU and at least 2 gig of memory to that OS, and you can start using it. Okay, where were we? We were talking about shell. There are different types of shell which you will come across. Now the one which you're using over here, even this is a shell, guys. This is a bash shell which we're using. Now shell, as I said, it's a program. It's an interface between the user and the operating system. There are different types of shell. The first shell which was created was she shell. Okay. Now let me go to this resource and let me log into the VM. How do we log into the VM, guys? Just copy the public IP, open git bash. Okay, this is the git bash which I have opened. SSH, name of the user at the public IP. This is how you log into your Linux machine. It will prompt you for a password. Just put in your password. The password will not be visible, guys. Just put in your password and hit enter. Now what do you see? This is a black screen with a blinking line. This is what is shell is all about. This is your shell, guys. If you want to know which shell you're logged in right now, this is the command echo shell. Echo dollar shell. Now I am logged into a bin bash. This is the Bourne shell which we are logged in. What is different in Bourne shell than others? Bourne shell is the latest shell. Most of your Linux operating system will have Bourne shell. So Bourne has multiple features as compared to others, such as bash auto completion. So auto completion, alias, you can set up alias, you can have command history. So whatever your command is, whatever your command you execute, if you want to have a history, we have executed one command, correct? So if you go into history, you can look into what was executed. Okay. Now, even what is alias? Now, alias is basically setting up a shortcut command for yourself. Now, just think of when we'll set up Kubernetes or Docker. So we'll end up running Docker commands multiple times. I don't have Docker right now. Or when we are executing Kubernetes, then you'll be end up kubectl command multiple times. So it's a quite big command. If you want to shorten this command, the kubectl command, into something like qt or qb, something like this, whatever you want. So that is what alias is all about. An example over here, a date command. Like if you execute a date command, this is how it looks like. You need to write date complete. But if you want to set up an alias, you can simply do a date. Now if you just run the command dt, see, you're getting the same output. So these are the auto completion. What exactly is auto completion? So auto completion is like if you just write anything and you just do a tab, it will automatically complete do a completion for you. For example, if I create a directory, mkdir stands for make directory. So it's if you want to create a folder, basically, this is the command which you will run. Now let's name this folder temp folder, something like this. Okay, this is the folder you created. Now if you do a cd and temp and do a tab, what did I do? CD stands for change directory. Change directory means if you want to go inside the other directory, then you need to do CD. To CD, I just did TE and did a tab. This is called tab completion, guys. One tab and automatically you get everything. These are all features of this bash shell. This shell which you see right now, these are the features of bash shell. All other shell which you see does the same thing. Okay. Now if you see, this is called she shell. This was created in the University of California, Berkeley. So even this has some features like aliases, command history. You'll find the same features over here. Then you got Bourne shell. So this is originally from this Bourne shell. What you see, this is originally from Unix machine, but it does not have the features what we are talking about, like interactive commands, and all these features are missing over here. And this is basically from Unix native. And this Bourne shell got upgraded into Born Again shell with all the recent features what we are talking about. Now even this Corn shell was again created by, I think, David Corn. Yeah, from his last name only this Corn shell is given. Again in AT&T Bell Labs. This has some more features, like it will have arithmetic features. You can do calculation using the shell itself and many things. So all this shell which we are talking about, this they differ from the feature wise only, guys, nothing much. The main purpose of interacting with the OS, this is what they do, and they differ from the feature wise. Now this is the latest one, Born Again shell, and this is the one which you will come across in many operating system. Whatever you use in many operating system, this is the shell which you will come across. Now if you want to change the shell, then this is the command. Before that, if you want to look what are the shell available in my OS, so it's cat etc shells. These are the different types of shell. It got sh, that's Bourne shell. This is your Born Again shell. Now if you want to change it to sh, you can do it. So the command is change shell. Before that, let me see the path. Bin sh. Okay, change shell. It will prompt you for a password. Put in your password. Now enter the new value. So if you want to shell, all the shell are available in the bin directory, guys. What exactly that directory is, we'll see that later. For now, all your binaries are kept inside the directory. If you want to change the shell, then you have to be very specific. Bin sh. Now if you do echo, we don't see the bin sh. we see the similar one. Why? Because this is the default shell, and if you have changed the shell, you have to exit out of your login and you need to re-log in one more time. So I did an exit. If you want to exit, like if you want to exit out of a login, then exit, just that the command, and you'll come out of that login. And I'm trying to re-log in again. Okay, test at 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Permission deny, incorrect password. Perfect. See, this command is not working right. So when I was using bash, if you do a control L in bash, control L is a shortcut to clean your window, clean your terminal. Now when I'm running control L, I'm not getting anything right now. Okay, in order to clean your window in SH, you have to do, you have to write clear. This is SH. Again, a feature of Bourne shell, which I'm very used to control L. Now if you do a echo, see this. Where are you right now? You just change your shell. Now you have to be, you can see the feature. One of the features I show you, control L is not working. We have a folder, correct? Let's go and see if we auto completion. See, auto completion is also not working, guys. I'm doing a tab, not working. So as I said, born again shell is the latest shell which we can use it. And let me see if we have history. Let me clear this all. History not found. Even history is not there. So these are the differences, guys. If you not using Bourne shell, and if you end up using any other shell, these are the differences which you will find. How do we change back to our own shell? Very easy. Do a chsh again, put in your password, and bin bash. Go back to bash, exit out of it, log back in. Perfect. Let's do echo bin bash. This is shell is all about. Okay, there are basic commands in which I have introduced echo already to you guys. So how do you write commands? So there is a format, a proper format in Linux. You have your command, you have options. So this is where you will be using flags. And then if there's any argument, if you want to run. So this is the command which we were running, echo. If you run a command echo, so echo will display whatever you write after echo, that the same thing will be displayed on your screen. That is what echo is all about. So it is echoing what you have written, like how you go on mountains and scream your voice, your name, then you get a reply, the same name, the same thing. This is, so it's the same echo what we're talking about. So when you do echo, you get the same thing. Echo, hello world. Okay, wait. Let me remove this exclamation. Hello world. Now this is your command and this is your argument. In between, echo supports various flags, various options. Like one of the option is -n. -n stands for new line, guys. See this, the difference. Okay, so this is how you write commands. Your command followed by the argument, and if there's any flag in between. These are all uptime, echo hell. Uptime is basically giving you since when your OS is up. This is giving you the time since 12 minutes, how many users are logged in, and this is your load, basically 5 minutes load, sorry, 1 minute load, 5 minutes load, last 15 minutes load. I'll talk about this load and things in a greater details when we talk about monitoring in Linux. For now, this is just a command which you see right now. Okay. So we got internal commands and we got external commands. So all these echo, cd, these are all internal commands, guys. These are built-in commands. What do I mean by built-in commands? So whenever you log into your operating system by default vanilla operating system, these are the commands you will find out by default. And these are the commands you may find out, you may not find out. If you go with some older version of Ubuntu, you may not have these commands. So you may have to install this command. If you don't find this command, your date, move, uptime, etc. So this is something you can install it externally also. There's no. So there are two types of command types: internal built-in commands and external commands, which you will come across. Okay. Now there are other. Before I jump in and talk about absolute and relative path, we created a directory, correct? That is stem folder. Now I'm running something called ls. Now what is this ls? ls stands for list files. So this is basically your listing files and directories. If you want to list your files and directories, this is what you will use. ls can use multiple flags. So the options, remember, what is the command and argument. So if you want to list any folder, you can give the folder name and you can list. If there's anything inside that folder that would have listed. So this is your command and the argument. But in this, if you want to have some flags, so ls support multiple flags. Like if you want to do a long listing, if you want to know more about this folder, more about what is there, then you can use -l. -l stands for long listing. See the difference when I was just running the command ls. Now if I'm running a command ls-l, see the amount of difference is what we are getting. L stands for long listing. Okay. There's one more command. You can even have a small r. Small r is basically for recursive. As if now we don't have multiple, let's create multiple files, then you'll understand the difference. Okay. Now I'm inside the folder. How did I go inside the folder? Using cd and the folder name. I am inside the folder. Okay. Now if you want to create files in Linux, the command is touch. Touch is basically will create a blank file. For example, if I want to create file 1, see, if I do a ls now, you can see file 1. Same goes with file 2. I can have file 3. I can have file 4. So these are the files which I am creating. Now if you do a ls, this is what you see: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 4 files created. If I do ls-l, you can see more details about the file. Now just see how things changes. If I do r recursive, now see the difference when I run the command. So this gave me the sequence, and when I run the command, it gave you the sequence which one create the last in a reverse order kind of. Now if I edit one of the file, okay, I'll talk about this editor later, guys. For now, I'm just updating one of the file, like suppose file 2. How exactly what's happening, this is something I'll explain later. For now, just see the difference when I run the command ls-lr with a t now. See, so just remove this t, remove this r for now. See the difference. So this is the file which you have edited, file 2, that is coming the latest. This is a file we edited, correct? If you go and open this file, you will find hello world inside it. Now how do I read what exactly I have written inside the file? So if you want to open a file in a read only, cat command, it's nothing but it's a concatenate or cat, you say concatenate or cat, whatever you like. So it's one of the most frequently Linux command which you will come across, guys. What it does, it can list, it can combine, and it can write file content to the standard output. And you can also open any file in a read-only mode, and you can read through the file using cat. Now cat and file2, you just have to give the file2 name, and you can read through the file what exactly is written inside it. That is cat command for you guys. Now, do you have to remember all these flags? Do you have to remember all this option? So the answer is no. How do you get through it? Do I remember everything? No. LS has around 20-30 flags, guys. LS command itself. Okay. I don't remember all this. The best way is, there are two ways you can access help. And this is again an interview question. Very smartly, the interviewer will ask you that these are the commands, what are the different flags you will be using, how do I, so such questions he will asking. When you will say, okay, I may not remember the command, but I can Google it, then he will tell you, just assume that you're logged in on a server, and over there is no Google available to you, no internet availability, nothing you have. Now how will you go and access help? So you got manual inside your Linux operating system. There are manual for all your commands. Okay, plus help. If you just do ls hyphen hyphen help, this is the page which comes in, and this is has reverse, recursive, capital R recursive, T stands for sort by modification time, all this command which we were running. L, there is one more L, correct? L is for long listing format. This is one way of getting help. If you want more details, more help, then there is a manual page, mn man ls, any command, guys. What is ls stands for list directory. What is the description? List information about the files. What are the flags you can use? See this. You just have to H for human readable. So basically, if you use a hyphen H, it will give you human readable size information, like in memories, KB, gigabytes, all this. And if you want to come out, just hit Q, it will quit. If you want to come out of your man page, hit Q on the Q. Q stands for Q back, and you will come out of your man page. Now, what did we find? ls-h. We'll see what happens. Nothing is happening. See this way. Now this size, the total size it is giving you over here. What is the total size? 4.0 KB. This is what output you're getting with H. Okay. So same goes with, so what all things we did? Touch command, make directory, and cd command, cat command, cat is for read, echo command, we saw echo, it displays the same output what you want. Now let's go back out again. In make directory, guys, if you want to create multiple directories, like for example, I'm creating a directory called test1. Inside test1, I want to create something like test2. Inside test2, I want to create like test3. Inside test3, I want to create test4. It's giving me an error. Cannot create directory. No such file or directory. How do I create multiple directory? One way, create test1, go inside test1, create test2, go inside test3, as this way. Or else there is a flag hyphen p. Okay, hyphen p. Now if you go and see if your directories are created. Test1, if you go inside test1, you will find test2, 3, 4. See,
So what is the difference between the mkdir and the touch command means both are creating the directory and the file. Means both are creating the file. Am I correct?
No. mkdir is creating a directory, touch is creating a file. These are all directory. How do we
It's all
significant that?
folder. Yeah, means it's just creating the folders like we are creating a Windows.
Correct.
Okay.
So mkdir is basically, let me give you an example. mkdir is creating this training folder for you. Touch is creating the files inside it. This text files. Okay? That is the difference.
Okay.
How do you
Thanks.
distinguish? How do you know what exactly it is? So that is when you run the ls command. Let me run the ls-l again. So we got two folders over here, two directory. So this first D, this is something I'll be doing tomorrow. Just an FIF for now. D stands for directory. Now if you go inside D, if you go inside the folder and run your ls-l over here, do you see there's nothing D and all? This is a dash, means this is a file. And inside file you cannot do a CD. But if you try to do a CD inside this file, see the error. It's not a directory. So CD, like if you want to go inside the folder, that can be only possible if it's a folder, not into a file. Okay, this is the error which you will come across whenever you run this command. Okay, that's it for today, guys. We'll continue with this basic commands again tomorrow. There are multiple commands. We need to know CP, MV, and post that we'll need to understand what exactly this absolute and relative path is all about. And then we'll see file system hierarchy and file types. Okay, that's it for today. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's continue with this topic. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know, or we can wind up the call for today. Anyone, any questions, guys? And once you're done with your practice, always a good practice of deleting your resources so that we don't get charged unnecessarily. And when we come back tomorrow, we can easily launch it within a couple of minutes. Correct? Done. Things will be deleted. Okay, if anyone has any questions, please do let me know, or else we can wind up. No questions? Okay, thank you very much, guys. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's continue with this Linux topic. Bye bye.